Welcome back to EU5. I'm Decathlon Gamer. This is the Every Country One Location mod. We are playing as Provence. Here in this second episode, we are going to try to expand upon what we did in the first, which was our initial beginning point. We were set up decently with one exception. We had a large market in Genova that saw us far away from the center over in Marseille. Due to limited market access, it took us a while to have the market itself strong enough to support colonization. And as every nation started with just a single location, here's your traditional Portugal, but instead you have Lisboa, you have Lisbon only, and they've not been able to grow and expand upon that. Main reason for it is they are alone in that market. For us, we had a market with plenty of things going on, but the center is where it was the strongest. But eventually we got going, and we were able to fully colonize within our own borders. We are up against others surrounding us at every turn. But then we were able to grow into Sardinia, and we are making some progress there. We have 4 locations now, and at the tail end of that episode, and just shy of the 50-year mark, we have been able to make our first inroads into conquering others. North Africa is rather weak for that. Our big problem is going to be lots of rebellions, but if we can get enough areas quickly, it's not going to matter. And if we take over enough of them quickly, the antagonism is not going to matter either. And therefore we can, hopefully, be quite aggressive and try to take all of what there is here in Africa, and then maybe push beyond while making our focus on expanding westward towards the New World as quickly as possible. Right now we do have a negative balance that has, I'm not even quite sure what's triggered it, other than that our cost of colonies went up significantly. We were at 2 to 4 ducats, all of a sudden it's at 5.5, and that's got us a bit of a negative balance here. I think what I'm encountering on the finances is twofold. For one, we were at 50 and 15 before on our charters. We grew to 50 for, well, 2 reasons, actually. One, with the first location established, we now had the adjacency bonus, no penalty, so that was able to jump us to 50, but also the colony next to it was able to colonize the location right next to it, which gave it an adjacency bonus through there, as well as the next location is done now there. So sorry, they're on the corner. So now we have this full bit under our control. So that brought us up probably a ducat and a half, close to 2 ducats. The other reason why we suddenly have a negative balance instead of a neutral balance, which is what we had before, and why it's not a ducat and a half but more, ultimately is coming down to the fact that we have this whole union with Naples, and they are the leader, which is currently a regency and probably a lower admin score than what we had previously. Be nice to be the stronger player so that we could become the head of the union and then absorb Naples, and it's like Mondovi, there you go, is the other piece. Noticed England took on a purple tinge, and that's because they are a fiefdom of France. France, not its normal self, very much spread out. And the HRE, yeah, it's looking pretty HRE at this stage. Italy is very much not united, though obviously we do have, a few semi-larger players here in the north of Italy. Toulouse, France seem to be the 2 largest players, maybe Bohemia. Albania is looking pretty good. Byzantine's looking good. But a still mostly wide open Iberian Peninsula is waiting for us to get in there to colonize. Take on alone here pretty soon. That will spiral the wrong direction, but we're not going to stop. We will get to the point where we're down to a single colony, and that will be where we worry about getting our finances back under control. In the meantime, it would be nice to at least save some money. Next location is established. We have 3.5 to go here, and just 2 to go here. So this smaller one is actually, this colony will end up finishing first, even though it is behind just half as many locations. We're at 2 loans and about to go on to loan number 3, but we are on to the last location for one of the colonies. The other one's actually going to be done soon after as well, but I won't need to cut down to 0. Cutting down to 1 will put us back into a profit margin, which will slowly get us to pay those loans off, and we'll continue to expand otherwise as soon as the other colony is complete, which it's down to two and a half locations. And we're at 99% on that colony, probably just in time. We've taken on too many loans. It's starting to spiral the wrong way, as finally there's a new count with 59. Definitely a better admin score. And there you go. Just like that, we do have a positive balance, or so it would seem, with just 1 colony. It's at 81%. It's down to the last 1.5. Already made some progress integrating here, and currently integrating this location. So we're starting to move on to what that next task looks like. And in this case, it's converting the Pops to Catholicism first. But here is our first rebellion, and that is rebellion dealt with easily enough. The next one's at 80%, so it will be, the Algerians will be ready soon enough, but that's okay. That's the thing about having multiple conquered lands, is you can alternate when those rebellions strike and take them out using what you've gained from one another, adding to your core strength. We do have CBs right now on Casa and Gabe's, but Casa has Tunisia backing them, and that gives them a little too much strength for us right now. Gabe's is very close. We have just slightly more troops than them right now, so we'll have to be a little patient right now on expansion. We did pick up some ducats, so let's repay one of those loans. We were up to 5. We've got it down to 4 already. Cost of the colonies went down by almost 4 ducats. I'm down to 1 loan, and I am going to incur a little bit of a penalty for this, but we need to get started on our next colony here, as we are not alone. Cagliari just got started. They're at 3.5%. Already balance is a lot better than it was, though. We're losing half a ducat a month with 2 active colonies. The first of those will be done in 2 months, 3 months, so we will not incur another loan. We have just that 1 to pay off. We'll get it paid off pretty soon, so economy's already in a quite a bit better state than it was just a short while ago. Well, it's like conquering the lands once again, but we should be fine for this. Again, slowly but surely the situation improves, with 12 ducats gained also from recovering this land. We are going to be able to pay off the nearly pay off the final loan. When we were finishing the colony up here, we went like 0.1 ducat below 0 and ended up having to take on 1 more loan. But everybody is fully reunited, and we're making progress on conversion at almost 10%. Also assimilation at 4% here at this location, and then the integration was most of the way done here. We're up to 1,400 for the levies now. That number is getting a little bit better, a little bit stronger, and that was while we were still missing some of our land. Combine it all together, we should have something more like 1,500. And the final loan is repaid, so we are out of debt, back into making money, and in fact our profit's definitely better than it was, but to try to run double colonies would probably put us back into debt pretty quickly, so we'll keep to a single colony for a little while. If we cut off our border somewhere around right here, there's only maybe 5% left within the lands here, maybe 8 to 10% left here, while the vast majority is left here. However, suddenly Castile, Toledo, Sevilla, they've all grown a little bit, so that market that couldn't sustain any sort of colonization is beginning to, slowly, but beginning to. Morocco, Tunis are both growing a little bit faster, and that's going to be kind of our next destination, is try to fill this area out and conquer the rest of those lands. I'm not sure if we're going to get to Iberia in time, but maybe we will try to make a jump over there soon enough. We could still jump into the boot for Italy as well, but my ultimate goal is pushing west, so Italy may have to wait. When it comes to our precious metal distribution, I'm going for the trade advantage. Gold and silver output increase, though it is going to hurt our minting a fair bit. But trade is where the money's really at when it comes to that, and not the internal minting process. The 100 Years' War comes to an end with France winning. Of course France was winning, because they had forced England into being a fiefdom. England starting tiny, France already grown large. No wonder. But as most of the French lands and HRE lands are now colonized, a lot of these nations are going to start looking elsewhere, and or looking towards warfare and expansion in those other means. Toulouse is already one of those. They've taken land off of Nîmois. They've taken land from others, so they have absorbed a couple smaller nations, and this is a territory that's getting aggressive fast, so we are going to have to get bigger and stronger soon, and the best way is definitely conquering these lands down here, which Barca and their 4 locations right here will soon be our target, as we are much stronger than them. Tellus is kind of the next one that I think would be achievable. Gabes is now achievable, so you get all of those lands, and then with that you could take on Gafis, Tunis, and the others. Well, it's certainly not a nothing war. Barca does have over 1,000 troops, but we have the advantage. We should be able to take them, and we should be able to land fairly easily at one of the, well, non-capital locations, and then march your way towards the capital. Well, there's 1,000 troops for Barca. It looks like that's their main levy force, so if they're going to be down here, we can march straight for their capital. They are trying to march across North Africa to reach our lands, leaving them vulnerable. And yeah, no one is guarding their capital. They only have 10 ducats for us, meaning they are really broke, but it's not like we have a lot of money either. But that's a full annexation. In terms of the antagonism piece, the Ottomans are going to be at 22, Alexandria at 10. They're a neighbor, so nothing worrying there. Small acquisitions like this don't push the antagonism too high. Well, with those additions, we now have 182,000 pops. It's definitely starting to push us in that direction. And I've got a couple of tech that's, trying to help us out a little bit with our capability. Rebels, more and more of a problem here as time goes on, and I'm working on trying to see if I can get an alliance with Genoa. And we have finished up our Sardinia colony. There's still 2 locations left, but one of them is very, very nearly done, and I don't want to bother with the other. For one, they've already made some progress on it anyway. It's not high value. We'll let it go. Eventually, we will take all of that off of them when we're capable. I would like maritime presence pushed, and that's, you need to have these kind of coastal locations. So islands can be really good for pushing maritime presence as you hop over. And so we're going to do that by now colonizing Majorca. And our next war is with Tripoli. We are only a little bit stronger. We got about 500 manpower more than they do. But I do have an ally in Sicily now. And Sicily is actually stronger than we are at this time. And they are going to join in the war. 85 more I could pull together. Otherwise, though, I've already made it to 2,000 levies now. So I think we're going to be okay taking on Tellus. Or do I want to start down here? Ooh, we just captured 3 ships. Nice. Oh, and there's their troops. So, yeah. We'll go straight past them and go for their capital. Oh, they returned, but it's with less than 1,000. Maybe we'll march in next to them so we don't have a landing. Oh, Tellus is separate. Okay. Well, we just captured a few transports, proper transports, so we now have... No, that's still fishing boats. This colony is a little too rich for our blood. We're going to go ahead and abandon it for now and come back at a later date. I don't want to go deeply in debt over a single colony, as we have our little rebellion here. And I do not have enough local troops, do I? No. And the rebellion put to rest with 20 extra ducats for us. Tunis is not actually particularly strong. They've just been able to expand faster. Constantine much stronger, and they have bumped into very angry Constantine. Tunis only has 26k. They did conquer somebody else who has a little bit, if I could find it, 20,000. So they did conquer a town of 20k. So overall, I should be able to handle Tunis. The problem is they have also Gafsa with 41,000. So collectively about 80k as an obstacle, but I should be able to take all of that fairly soon. But now Constantine looks like they might be taking a fair bit off of them themselves. And we have our next rebellion as Barca. Haven't even been with us very long, but I guess time is flying by. It's 1408. All right, rebellion dealt with very quickly, and we are prepared for our war with Gabes next. But we're going to have to send home our levies. You cannot call a war while having levies raised. So we need to disband those, and then we will send our force back towards Marseille. And Gabes, we're finally ready to take them on to add another 50,000. We're at 258k. That would put us over 300,000 pops for the nation. And there's another successful annexation, just giving us a little bit more control. And like I said, this is kind of situated in the region here. Well, I found that it can be challenging to assimilate a land, but I also found that you can send more than one cabinet member to do it. And so where Hodna was a place that I could not get the assimilation going, with double cabinet members, they are doing a very, very good job. It's progressing rather quickly. In fact, Kabalaya, that's been at it for a really long time, they've already nearly caught past them. Of course, this is a small location. That's a large location, so it's not a very good comparison for that part. I'm also colonizing here because I was worried about Tunis being strong. Turns out they're not. We're going to take on Tunis and open ourselves up to the coastline here pretty quickly. We're going to go ahead and make the Libyans tolerated. It's going to use all the prestige we had, and going any further with it, we don't have the prestige and we don't have the cultural capacity for it anyway. This is going to bump us up to almost a full cultural capacity list. Right now we have a really weak cultural tradition and especially cultural influence. We're going to need to work on raising that. It's really, really hard to get these pops assimilated right now. Latest rebellion from Barca is dealt with here. 16 ducats that we're going to get out of this one. And when our finances are what they are, that's helpful. Tunis is my rival right now, and we have an attack threatening rival CB that we have prepared with no additional cost for taking land, meaning we can get a good amount of land off of them. Gafsa is also going to be part of the war. We'll want a separate piece them to conquer their single location. It should be easy enough on that part. Okay. Okay, they do have a little bit of a navy, though. Getting over there could be a problem. Here's to hoping it's not. All right, we have successfully landed our troops, and the invasion will begin. Right now we have a -6 on the war score. Gafsa and Tunis do have more troops than what we have collectively, but we have more troops than what they have, and we don't necessarily need a head-to-head. For one, they've marched themselves down towards Tripoli. What happened to their truce? Constantine has marched in. We got to go straight for the capital. There are their troops. They have 0 morale, and they end up getting back into their capital with 1% morale. So we do end up with a fight here, but it's a fight that we're going to win, and it's a capital that we're going to siege down here quickly. Got a 21 on the war score. They are sieging back down their capital. Our numbers are almost identical now. If I wait just a little bit, we're going to get possession of these 3. I think we could always circle back and take it again. There we go. That's 29% war score. Let's see what that's like. Can't take any of these lands, but we can take... Admittedly, this is a pretty weak ask. Just a couple locations here and here. It's certainly better than nothing, and this is the other larger city that they have, and that would put that under our control, further weakening them. But I think we could do more. We are going to lose the capital briefly, but we're going to hold this city here, and then let's see what these guys can do to help us out a little bit. Okay, we're going to find ourselves in a good position here in just a second. Well, we have marched into them. Oh, but we are inflicting much heavier damage than what we're taking so far. We have a pretty healthy morale bonus, but they have a better discipline bonus. We can get that flank to fall. We should start to take control. And we do. Their center's falling quick. Oh, and here's support too. Not a huge win, but a win nonetheless. I don't know why my war score just dropped from a healthy 24% to 12. I lost 25% on a battle that we just won. I lost 25% on a battle we just won. And there we go. Annaba and Constantine have both taken land off of Tunisia, and our war score has jumped back to a plus 32%. Tunisia has no troops remaining, so we're going to go siege down the rest of what we can. I'm going to take Gafsa in a separate piece to help out with the being able to acquire more land out of this. And we're going to end this thing with a full annexation of Tunisia and 31 ducats to go with it. The antagonism piece is definitely higher, though. Tlemcen is not going to like us. Annaba does not like us. Constantine does not like us a lot. Tellus does not like us. That's actually a lot of nations that do not like us. That's too much at once. We are going to have to take less for sure. And this is much better now. We've got a turn of the month, turn of the year, both coming real soon. I think the antagonism for a lot of these countries will drop below that 40 threshold real quick. But Tellus, they'll be upset, no problem. That's somebody we plan on annexing soon. The problem is going to be Annaba and Constantine, who we're going to need to try to make nice with as soon as possible, because they're both pretty strong right now. Maybe, just maybe, Annaba in particular looks a little weak, but I think they joined that war together. Maybe, unless it was 2 separate wars. Annaba, if they're isolated, we can take them out and be strong enough to then take on Constantine, and then you don't have the problem of other nations interfering. But this does mean we can take a lot more ducats, which is 159. We really needed that. I'm happy to have it. We will take that deal. We get a big pole of land in through here. We're not actually connected. There's some impassable terrain there, but it's easy enough to take a location like this and connect it up. Take a location like this, state here, connect that up, or up here. So we'll still get access, and actually we have sea access anyway, so it's really not that big of a deal. But that's a huge acquisition off of Tunis. We're going to need a little bit of time, though, to recover our levies after that. And actually, you guys need to stop marching. Yeah, it's going to take us a little while. 1,400 levies. I had a little bit of debt. We can repay that now. And now we are debt-free, finally. Sitting on 138 ducats, meaning we can invest a little bit. Building maintenance-wise, I was starting the prep with a sergeantry, and just 2 armories. They are so stupid expensive. 2.5 ducats a month for manpower, which we now have manpower. Okay, great, fantastic, that's awesome. We can support one regular unit, which would make us really strong. They're just 200 or 300 ducats to get that one unit made, and then we'd have 1,000. It would make us incredibly strong compared to those around us if we can get there, do that, have that small standing army of 1,000, and we'll be able to grow a lot faster. So we did the first steps. We're almost there. On the second steps, we're just kind of break even, and that is now without colonization, as we just finished the state here. So I need to build the economy a little bit for the next little while. We definitely need to start integrating and coring that, which we just took from Tunis. We are much stronger than Annaba head-to-head, but they actually have more troops than we have. And they do have an alliance with Constantine, so let's go ahead and start with Constantine and trying to improve opinion. They hate us quite a bit at the moment. It would seem in the 1.1 update that antagonism for coalition is now a 50 plus threshold instead of a 40 plus threshold, but we'll see. Tellus at 49.82 now is still showing up on the list. Maybe it's 45. And there we go. Annaba has joined the coalition, but of course Annaba and Constantine are already allies. So if they're both in a coalition against us together, it's no big deal as long as there's nobody else with them. Tellus being the only other one. Tellus is one that I feel like we could remove from the map here quite quickly, as there's nobody around them on either side, and then you would just have, well, your 3 here. And I guess eventually Tunis would, when our truce expires, they would very much want to join. So do we try to take out Tellus before it's too late? Well, we could at the very least build that spy network and prepare just in case. Taking them out keeps them out of the coalition. But I do think we're going to need to look into a new direction for a while and let this antagonism that we have built fade. Which means we need to look out like this direction for colonization. There's Constantine into the coalition. This Western Iberia actually would be a really good option too. But first and foremost, we need to fix the economy. We barely have a positive legitimacy at the moment. Well, we've been given a perfect opportunity here, and I don't think it's going to hurt too much of what's going on. Sardinia, which we control most of, we now have the opportunity to control all of it. We've been insulted. We could use that CB. The cost wouldn't be great, but considering it's only a few locations, we should be able to get all of it. And Arborea has virtually no manpower. Let's do it. Let's go to war and finish off Arborea. Total annexation, only 3.5 ducats though. As for the antagonism piece, I think this is the important one. Tunis already hates us a lot, so it's not going to make much of a difference. Annaba and Constantine, it's going to up their antagonism just a little bit, but Tellus, it'll put them at 44. Others already below the 40 mark were okay, and so yes, this is a worthwhile finish them off kind of situation, and then we'll have a single location remaining inside the island to then go and colonize it when I feel we can afford to do so. And already in just a very short period of time, we've already rebounded to 2,000 levies and counting, so we're back on track on being able to have a reliable force. What we don't have, though, is a force capable of taking on Annaba and Constantine, especially when you add in like a Tunis or Tellus. But Tellus did not join. Tellus has faded away already a bit on that antagonism, and therefore we're looking at really just the trio being the current and for a while threat. And here we go. The Tunisians have broken out into a rebellion against us, and it's that whole group, all of that land that we took in that last war. So, yeah, this could be a little troublesome, but I believe we'll have enough in 2,000 levies to take them out. Great Schism comes to an end. There you go. No more negative events. We kept getting them on a pretty regular basis from that. there was actually small hope that maybe Tunis would join into this war. 47 ducats better off and total annexation without a fight. We could get a little bit more in terms of ducats, but it would take us taking them on in a fight. I've got about 1,800. They've got 1,300. We would definitely win that fight, but we'd be worse for wear, and we really need to restore the overall strength we have. So we'll take the 47 ducats, call it good. Smallpox currently wreaking havoc. It's killed 88,000, including 10,000 in our country. Presence has come to an end, but that was costly. Economy is definitely not fantastic, but it is doing better. We are making some progress with it. We have been able to store up a little bit. So let's go ahead and finish off that last location in Sardinia. It's driving me nuts that it's not complete, so we'll complete it. Tellus has been growing rapidly, and taking all of this land could come with a little bit of antagonism, mostly with the addition of Egypt coming in fairly close to the Mamluks. The same can be said of a little more antagonism for the group that already has it, but this is one of 4 potential enemies eliminated, and I think that's worth it right now. Tellus will not be the easiest fight, but I think we have enough to see them off. So we have a destroy enemy CB, which is going to make everything cheap enough to be able to full annex. Ooh, Sicily has 0 manpower. What happened to their manpower? Oh man. I missed whatever action they were involved in. Well, we have a war. We have a war. Who is it? Annaba has declared war on us, but we are getting defended by Naples and Sicily, Mondovi, and Hungary. So it's a coalition war. Coalition war has begun, and of course we've got a double. So we were trying to stop the coalition. That was the whole purpose of this offensive war, and instead we've walked right into a double war instead. Now the biggest difficulty about this war is the technically overseas situation that we're dealing with. We do have a couple of galleys, 1 transport ship, so Naples could theoretically bring some troops over. I'm not going to go for these guys first, which there's their advantage right now. You got 2k, 3,500, and I have less than 2k, so and then there's the 1,600 for Tellus. Okay, Tripoli has fallen. I think taking care of Tellus first is going to be the most important step, so we're going to cut inland. Just taking these 2 should get us almost all the land under control. And here comes support. 4k. Naples is bringing 4k. Yeah, almost 5k. There's the Tellus army, but we do not need to fight them directly. And we need to, as soon as these guys arrive, I'm going to transport them out of there to safety, go join these 104, and then merge up with the main force. But that's a big help. Naples, yes. And like I said, Tellus. Resolution on this one here fairly quickly, because that's going to spread quickly. We'll get enough of a score. Oh, attrition down to 1. There you go. 74% war score. That should do it. Trying to deal with trying to avoid the coalition by eliminating a likely member of it, and we find ourselves in a weird situation where we ended up sparking the coalition, but that ended up bringing in our fellow defenders, which, because of the union that we're a part of, which includes Naples and Hungary, Croatia, us, and 1 more, and I believe that's still, yeah, Mondovi still exists. Naples has brought the support we've needed to have every chance to win this thing here. Only 10 ducats, but we're going to get a full annexation on Tellus, and then getting a check-in. Yeah, Tunis, 12 more antagonism. They're at 170. Tellus will not exist, so it doesn't matter. Annaba at 90. Constantine, they're down to 41. We're not going to have to worry about this coalition much longer. Others are going to be below 40 on that mark, so this is well worth it. We're also taking out kind of our outer edges, leaving us a focal point of finishing these guys off as we then make our move towards the west after that. And there's no antagonism out that direction right now, so this is been a very worthwhile war if we can turn around and pull together a result. Excellent. That is everybody together. Stack of about 2,000. Oh, well, thank you, Naples. There was a stack of 2,000 there just a second ago. Here comes 2K more. They already occupy these lands and here, but if we pop out here, we can come in the backside on Constantine and let Napoli try to handle. We're not going to be able to get much land, I think, as it's a defensive war, and I've encountered that before where you're not able to take much, but I think we can absolutely take some. And our navy just walked into a fight. There it is. Retreat. And we will retreat back to here. Oh, no forces lost. Good. Okay, let's go take them on together. He's telling you you're marching for them, or you're preparing to march for them. No, you're marching the other way. Nope, now you're turning around. Okay. Support's coming. Oh, and I lost before they arrived. Boy, oh boy, what was up with that? How is Anaba's levies? They only lost 200 to, what, 5,000? 6,000? And took out something like 2K of our forces? How in the world did that just happen? How is Anaba's forces that strong? We didn't even see the fight because it was over before it started. It was so fast. Okay, let's see this siege finish. I have to try to piece this thing out. I don't understand how Anaba is so strong. It's just levies. Naples still have 5,000, but let's see what a peace deal would look like right now. How was that? There is absolutely like nothing in terms of war score. It's like they're getting a minus 75 kind of situation here. We got to find a way to win this. And I just cannot understand. I cannot fathom what just happened with that fight. I mean, we walked into a flat zone, no forts, you know, there was no penalties. There was absolutely no penalties. We have a we have a +5 on the war score now. Understand why they were so tough. Yeah, look at this. Can I see what's going on? How are they? They have a full point of morale higher with identical tactics and discipline that's 13% higher. Like, Anaba has only ever fought a single war against Tunis and took some land off of them. Just a little bit. How in the world do they have like, I have all of the tech that you can have right now, and yet we are miles behind them. Oh, stack wipe. All right. They lost 10 soldiers. It was over in an hour. We got... Literally, it opened and closed. And then they wiped the floor with Naples as well. How in the world are their forces so superior to our forces? This is actually closer than what we had before, but 200 ducats would get me to a minus 36. I'm missing that +5 that we had a moment ago, but that's only going to get worse. I mean, it says we're a fair bit stronger. Their military might right now is coming down to the simple fact that they have manpower, we don't. Their total combat power was only a 2.74. I don't understand how they're just wiping the floor with ours and Naples' forces. We had a combined 8,000. They had a combined 5,000. And I have all of the tech you could have right now, levy-wise. All of the tech you could have for levies. And they have no regulars. None of this was regulars. This was all levies. But for one, it's a small little place with an insane amount of levies. I mean, they got 107,000. But I've got 520,000. How do they have twice as much levies as I... Well, Okay, there's ways to have that, right? So here is the peace deal that I've managed to work out. We are going to end our alliance with Sicily. We are going to pay war reparations to Annaba. This is too much of a good deal, but anything less flips this from a positive to a big negative, and I've not been able to find a balance in between, and ultimately this deal's not bad. We're giving up Gabez, releasing them, so it's not going to Annaba, it's not going to Constantine. They are becoming a nation once again. We could take it back later. Tellus, who we literally just had a quick, easy war with that sparked this war, released and back to themselves. So something we've had for 5 seconds, giving it back. That's it. There's your deal. That's your deal. That's not bad, considering what we were looking at and what I first saw when trying to hand my land over to them. Terrible on the war score. It's also going to have a pretty healthy reduction in antagonism to these. Okay, well, they'll still be pretty angry, but Annaba is going to be a lot less angry. Constantine will not be coalition level angry. However, those two are still friends, and that's still a problem for me. I don't understand how they not only have a high number of troops, considering a small population, a fifth the size of what we have, and yet they are able to muster 1,000 more levies than I can. And I have all of the tech, and yet they wipe the floor with us. Constantine especially. Annaba beat us up bad, right? We killed 200 and lost 1,000 in our fight with them. However, Constantine stack wiped our entire force. They only had a 3-2 advantage numerically at the start of that fight, and we had Naples marching in with like 3k. If they had gotten there in time, that's a fight you would think we should be able to win if we could hang on long enough. Either way, we should have had a close-ish fight. There was no attacker defender penalty type scenarios. It was very neutral on that part. They lost, what was it, 10, 20, and stack wiped us. And stack wiped us instantly. They marched in, and the fight was over before I could even click the button to look at it. You do not get that near neutral quality forces. You get that when it's New World versus Old World, massive tech differentiation between the groups, or you get the 10-to-1 ratio. 3-2 is not that. I don't understand how that just happened, but those two I was already fearful of literally just wiped the floor with us. That was bad. That was real bad. But the antagonism now is down to a fairly healthy amount for all but Annaba. We need to try to fix the Annaba part. And when we get really strong, we can deal with them later. Now, I now have 0 levies. That's going to be a problem. But the coalition is disbanded. I do think we're going to have to try to make nice with Annaba here. There are some ways to improve your situation, and common militias is one of those. Peasant levy size going up by 20%. Levy recovery and combat efficiency both going up makes sense, right? Peasants being allowed weapons is bad if they ever rebel. It's definitely going to add some power to them, but it's also going to make them generally happy. So we're going to go ahead and take that one on. You can see the effect here of, yeah, it did a little bit of harm with the others temporarily, but it very much made the commoners happy for right now. Having finished the Arborea colony, we end up getting automatically integrated on that which was there. So the lands that we took, no. Well, yeah, no, there you go, integrated. I was just working on integration there. So, a little bonus for us. Here's a big test. We have the Tunisian rebellion again. But I have very few levies left. It's back to 700. It's rebounded okay. A third. But are they going to have the same problem? Or are they going to have no problem finding others to do their dirty work? Meaning, are they going to be able to produce 1,400 troops? Or are they going to be able to produce 400 or 500? We'll find out here in a moment. They had no problem pulling up 1,000 levies. And, oh wait, there's more. There's 300 right there that just popped up and got in our way. But luckily, we win that fight. And they're marching away from us. So we're going to be able to go take that capital. And we're going to win this. But man, oh man, this is a tough little situation we find ourselves in right now. Yeah, we've managed to get the annexation and 58 ducats. That's definitely helpful right now because we're about to turn around and spend that with our next project. Even though our finances are a little bit problematic at the moment, and we'll fix some of that here by dismissing our levies, which has grown back to 1,300 now. We are going to begin our colonization project out to these edges so that we have access to the new world. And we're going to start by colonizing Sus. 27 ducats up front, so what we just made essentially paid for that. And then we'll begin our project colonizing that region. Expanded levies, military recruitment law is now available to us, so we're going to need an extra 5% on the peasant levy size and movement towards free subjects. 20% to nobles levy size isn't what you think it is. The nobles group is really small. There's not that many people, so 20% increase, while a larger number, raw number, you're putting an increase on a small number, which means you're not actually having that great of an impact, where your main force is your levies, your peasants, and so you're actually drastically increasing the numbers you have. Maybe that's how Annaba and Constantine are. No wonder I seem underpowered compared to what we should have. Levies wise, we're back up to 1,500. It's not like we have nothing, but we should have so much more than that. Here it states it takes at least 240 months, 20 years, for levies to recover if lost. Our recovery rate is 61%. Feels like that's a really poor number, and it should be better than that. And we've raised them a lot. And you can see we're getting maybe 10 a month back. We definitely need those regulars. 1,000 of them will go a ridiculously long way. Oh, nice. Right now, Constantine is making a CB on Tunis. So them not getting along with each other is definitely good for us. But we are starting to try to raise opinion. They're still at a minus 200. Annaba is still pretty mad at us too, even though I don't know why their antagonism rates are so high when we've already confirmed that they're not so high. Here is the antagonism view, and you can see that there is almost no antagonism around us. It's really just centered in what's going on right here. Even Tellus is not angry at us because we released them. So they've only just come into existence. It's Tunis who has a plus 154. Annaba, it's down to a 70. And Constantine is down to a 23. And it looks like they're starting their war with Tunis. Being patient is certainly paying off, as we are back to more levies than any stage previously at 2,500 and growing rapidly. And there's a lot more where that came from. We could really have superior numbers to those around us, but we just did conflict after conflict after conflict. And even though we weren't taking heavy losses until the coalition war, it was still really costly. A battle here, a battle there, attrition as you go from place to place was additive and really keeping our numbers stagnant. They weren't growing, even though our population was. They will grow now. I still think our best option, though, is to get a single unit of regulars, and it could just go a really long way. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the 1,000 arms or handgunners, and their 340 ducat cost and 1,000 manpower, which at the moment we have a 910 limit because I've turned off the 2 sergeant-at-arms buildings, or the 2 manpower-related buildings that are costing us money, the armories. We could do something along the lines of horsemen, which is definitely cheaper both in manpower and maintenance. 200 isn't going to do a ton for us, but they would make a difference. They would absolutely make a difference in a fight. But an update on how things are looking with the rebellions. We do have one 3/4 of the way there, some Algerian patriots, but as for that one, and that's this group down here, they are a minor rebellion. A major rebellion, one that would actually start a war, have to have the cross sabers, and the Sardinians and the Chaui are the only ones that have that. The Chaui have been hovering around a positive 0.01 or a negative 0.02, where they've dropped from about 8% down to 5% over time. And then the Sardinians are dropping right now as well. So the only two that actually want to put up a fight are ready to leave the fight. And we've done a lot of integrating. I'll check in on that in a second. But the Tunisians, the big one that we keep seeing again and again, that's gaining 2.5% monthly, meaning it's really not taking them very long to rise up again and again. Well, this time around, they're just a minor, and they're only at 19% because they're only gaining at 0.36. So it looks like we are done with rebellions for a while. We are going to be able to integrate, core, consolidate, and slowly but surely in sus colonize. We're only gaining 10 a month, so it's taken a while to get draw going. And then there's a lot of locations after it, but it'll start going a lot faster with plus 50s. But how is that integration and coring working? Well, we've already integrated Sardinia. We've already integrated here as well. We've integrated this one a long time ago and assimilated up to about 18%. We have now assimilated here, and I think this is why the Tunisians are no longer, because that's been the capital, why they're no longer a major threat. Currently integrating there, and we've already integrated all of these lands. Makes them less angry, and that's why I've been focusing on integration first and foremost. As we integrate here and here, it'll bring us down to these last few states. Those will be what comes next, and then we'll start focusing on trying to assimilate and core. Just really not easy, as we have really low cultural tradition levels, and we are going to need to invest a little bit in that here at some point. But we're starting to make better profit here, and we're going to try to turn that around and reinvest that in the short term. Some cultural buildings could really make a difference for us. See, our cultural tradition is just a 9506, and our cultural influence just a 595. It is such a low number. And then our assimilation rate's also a minus 20%, as we are spiritualist. Maybe we need to try to pull off a spiritualist. Now, in terms of accepted cultures, we could get some extra coring if we take the Sardinians and accept them. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Here in early game, maritime presence is really hard to come by, even if you have the Navy. So we have not accumulated much, but we've got ourselves set up to have a flow over into this North Africa area where we could still end up with pretty good control. It would have been nice if we could have gotten lands here so that we could have a continuous network all the way across, but this is still manageable. It'll still get us somewhere. Rights of the nobility has come up. We're going to make them a little more upset, but we're going to get a much higher tax rate out of them and nerf their power a bit, block them from the cabinet, and increase our centralization long term. That's going to make us a lot more stronger. In the meantime, it's definitely hurting our economy that we are kind of stuck with just a small region here, and only one of those has decent population. Over here in Sardinia, we're doing okay, but it would definitely be nice if we could, well, core the last of this, and the cultural adoption not working the way it's supposed to. We've got triple check marks, but no, they're not counted at all at this stage, so there's further clicks that we're going to have to make it happen. They've changed it a little bit with 1.1. Very little control in these regions. What you do have is trade, right? 6 ducats a month coming out of this market down here. And we do have our first location down in Sus now. Some stage here we're going to have to start explorations. For that, we're going to need naval manpower, which we don't have. Getting to 250 is not too hard, but what we do need is 100 ducats for each of those. Plus, then there's going to be a monthly cost on top of it. We're going to have to grow the economy a bit before we can afford to do something along those lines. And it's definitely a risky move, but one thing we could do is start trying to steal maps off of others. Filling out faster now. Colonization is definitely happening at a quicker rate. Luckily it is for us too. Now that we got that first location in, we have a base point. With that base point, we're able to spread more quickly into these other spots. So Agadir will be done here shortly. We're at plus 45 now instead of plus 10. But Papal States, Iberia is starting to fill up. The western edge, your Portugal region is not. Portugal is finally starting to grow, but it's starting to now, fill in with the Papal States and others. So the opportunity in Iberia is just about gone. We're going to have to kind of leave it to sus, and then from there try to make the jump across to Brazil, I think, as our best colonizing option, as there's a ton of gold and silver in that region. Huge trade value in there. But at the same time, I'd really like to start moving ourselves into exploration or steal those maps off of places like Portugal, who we are building a spy network on. We're ready to go back to being the aggressor. Enough time has passed. We have like 4,500 in levies available to us. Tellus only at 1,600 is going to be much easier to beat this time, but they have grown. They've got additional land, and they actually even have land in the grayed out area, the Fog of War area that we don't know about. We'll try to march into that during the war, so we at least get a little bit of reveal. But they also have an ally in Togart, which is inside that zone as well. We may be able to find and locate them, conquer them as well. They also have a vassal in Oragla. So we're looking at actual 4 war enemies, and Gabez has become friends with them. So we could get back everything we lost and then some out of this war, but we're going to have to be careful regarding the antagonism that's going to come as a result. So got to keep an eye on how much we take. But with a destroy enemy, as we are rivals, CB, there's no penalties, no discount, but neutral 0 makes it pretty cheap to be able to take a lot of things. And with our power, we should, as long as they don't combine their forces, be able to easily beat them one by one. Oh, well, and there you go. There's Togart right there. You got to take that one. You've got to take that one. That's right next to our lands. Our forces are arriving, but they're a little bit late, and their forces are almost all coming together. You got 4,500 in the area, and that's more than what I can muster. And these 1,000 we're supposed to be moving, they're not. I think we need to gather our forces just right here. These guys retreat if they can. Nope. Stack wiped. Now, we do have... we're too early in the war, though. We can't separate peace until next October. We have a healthy morale advantage, identical discipline, tactics. Discipline is still behind, but it's a lot better than it used to be. We were at 8%, now it's at almost 14. And with the numerical advantage, we only lose 150. I think what we want to do is go take out Togart. Oh, yes, nice. Love that we're going to be able to march right through that. Right now, I'm trying to let a little bit of time pass, and we could start piecing them out kind of one by one without having to get ourselves involved in anything that's going to cost us too many lives. But trying to figure out how to get down to this lower area. It looks like we can't reach it. Right now, we have a plus 71% ore score. I think we can get a pretty healthy taking off of that. I still have one more month to go before we could start separate piecing, but I only have 0.98 diplomats. We're only gaining 0.06. I can't take anything until the next month anyway. Let's see, how long is this? 15 days. So, do we want to play cat and mouse, or do we want to try to take them on? I'm going to play cat and mouse. By piecing out Gabez, we're going to take out half of those forces, giving us an overwhelming majority. But what we're doing is we're also taking a nation out of the equation, or taking our diplomats out of the equation here. Now there's only 1,600 opponents. Let's go take care of them. Now with a nice plus 98% war score, we're able to take all of Tellus, getting us right back where we had been before the coalition. Well, actually at the same time, right, of the coalition war, but also adding all of Tugart and the outer province for Orgla. Orgla will still exist down here as we can't reach it, so we can't. It's the capital, so we can't add it to the peace treaty. But what about the antagonism? Because that's the big concern. Obviously, we have two major enemies we've got to watch out for. Tellus is not one of them, so that 110 antagonism is misleading. Tudis, already angry, not a big deal that they're adding 25. It's actually kind of putting them back to where they had been. Tugart, not going to exist, so they don't matter. Wargla, don't care. They are really weak. They're going to be at a 67. Jared, 52. Mzab, 45. Everybody else, below 40. Morocco's going to pick up a little bit, but it's manageable. The others are manageable. This is non-coalition type territory here, but a really good addition for us. It's going to connect up a lot of our land. It give us a pretty healthy expansion. 15 ducats to go with it. And we only lost 434 casualties in the war. And with so few casualties, we actually have more levies now, over 5,000 available to us. We are going to get to steal our first map here, but it's not going how I expected. Portugal, the maps they have are not in the region that I was hoping they would be, but we'll go ahead and take that Red Sea map and add a little bit of antagonism. That's less than what it used to cost to do that. It's only 10 antagonism that we picked up through there. But for that, we need to go ahead and cancel that spy network, as that's not doing us a whole lot of good. And with that, we have flipped over into the Age of Discovery. The third age begins. And this is going to be where that colonization and or exploration will begin for us. And we are going to definitely go diplomatic on this one. Through that second age, we expanded off of the northern Mediterranean through the Mediterranean with Sardinia and into the North African region, where we have done quite a bit of conquering. Only one of those states in North Africa is one that we colonized, and it actually even started as a conquered lands. So the rest of that is all conquered territory. We do not have totality with it, not even close to it, especially as others are growing and expanding around us, but it's a good amount, and a lot of it is connected, and we are doing pretty well. It's just a couple of nations that are quite a bit stronger than us. A lot of nations are quite a bit stronger than us. We are 667th in the rankings. That's it. That's where we are at. That's really weak, but we are also making progress in SUS, which is going to give us that pathway for this age that's just beginning. And we do have a good amount of levies. We do not have a very good economy, but we're hanging in there. We might be going after Tunis again here soon, getting more control in the area, but of course that would directly make Annaba and Constantine quite mad. And we've already discovered the hard way that them mad is not good for us. We are not comparing with others very well. But having 5,000 levies, big step in the right direction for that, because we were stuck on 2 for a very long time. So letting it sit for a little while has done us some good. Also, with all that new territory, we can finally have 1,000 manpower quite easily. We're almost at 1K. All I would have to do is turn one building on, but we don't have the 300 ducats to hire those 1K regulars, and I think those 1K regulars would work really well for us, but our overall discipline is so weak. But we're into a new age, and tech should spawn soon, and hopefully we can get a head start on some things. But one thing that has changed with our recent acquisitions, rebellion-wise, we were down to 6, and none of them were a danger. All of a sudden they are. So we do have one that has changed its mind. That's why. So all this new territory starts at 89%. We are going to have a rebellion quite soon from them. The Tunisians, though, non-threatening these days. The Kabyle, the only one that we have partially assimilated. It'd be nice when we can get all the integration done, which we were getting close to that. We just added a lot of territories, so there's a lot more to integrate now. Certainly helps on the rebellion side, but it doesn't stop. And we're certainly not getting bonuses from cored lands either as a result of all of that. But it does help with trade. So it's not negative lands. It's just not as valuable as it could be if we could get it. But meritocracy is something we could embrace, but it's spreading pretty quickly, and I do not want to pay that stability cost, or 40 ducats for that matter. It was a little bit higher before we just added all this land. This land has not embraced meritocracy yet. The spread is kind of up to here now. We brought it down there, and it started spreading quickly through, but it has not spread down. All in all, a lot of progress being made, but for whatever reason, we are not as strong as we could or should be with almost 700,000 pops. We just cannot seem to muster a very strong group. Even though I feel like we have the tech, we have the right things that should make us as effective as anybody else around us, and yet we're not. But that is going to do it for this episode. I'm a Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.